Welcome to the Expect Success Podcast, a presentation of GeorgeBollock.com with your host, George Bollock. This podcast is for all things personal development. Don't expect success, prepare for it. Please welcome your host, George Bollock.
Welcome to Expect Success at GeorgeBollock.com. Now, in addition to listening to our podcast, you could also view the video format on YouTube at GeorgeTube.com. Wow, lots going on in the world today, and unfortunately, most of it is not good. We could certainly use some positivity and personal development in times like this. And with that being said, Steve Harvey's back. An American comedian, television host, producer, radio personality, actor, author, and YouTuber. Probably forgot something. This guy basically does it all. Steve's been on our show a lot, basically because he's got a lot of good info and advice to offer. Best part is, it's free. Do yourself a favor and subscribe to his YouTube channel. He uploads new ideas on a regular basis. Today, Steve's going to give us some tips about how to become successful. Listen to Steve.
Well, everybody, since I published my latest book, Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success, I've talked about finding your gift, and I've shared this with a lot of people. Your gift can be anything. You can't look at it as simply running, jumping, singing, and dancing. But I'll tell you one thing, your gift is the thing that you do the absolute best with the least amount of effort. For me, it was comedy. So once you identify it, then that's the beginning of it. But there's a lot of work to do even after you identify your gift. You can believe you're something all you want, but if you don't work towards it, you're just sitting there, it's going to be empty. And so that takes me to page 159 in my book, chapter 12. It was called Tale of the Tape. Now, this goes back, so I used to do a little boxing a while back, and the Tale of the Tape was interesting because it was an analysis of each boxer's physical stats. That's, again, about assessing strengths and weaknesses. And in the book is what we all need to do on our path to success. We need to make a tale of tape of ourselves. You got to have an honest assessment of who you are. You got to determine your strengths and weaknesses. You can't give your best if you don't know what your best is. You also need some outside perspective. If you listen to people that's close to you, that have your best interests outside, you can use these outside observers to gain knowledge to assess yourself. And when you reach out to get these outside opinions, be open, keep your emotions in check. Well, you can't say that, but just keep your emotions in check. Now, from there, you're going to have a good feel about what your strengths and weaknesses are, and you can work on them to build them. You talk about managing your strengths. I know one of my weak points in my personal life is I don't like technical stuff. So even though I have to be on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, I don't care for that. So guess what? I find somebody who loves to do that. I find somebody who has a strength where I have a weakness, and I partner with them. All you're trying to do is get to the goal. No one gets there by themselves. Everybody needs help. Now, when you know what you got going for you, be confident, not cocky. Managing your strengths, knowing what they are, and don't let nobody talk you out of it. And that gets you fight ready. You get fight ready like that. You got to know you. Helps you develop your skills. All the while, you're developing your strength. You just got to keep developing the strength. Don't let anybody talk you up. At the same time, you must work on improving your weaknesses. So I've had to, in spite of myself, get on Instagram, get on Twitter, get on Facebook. I got to do the videos, whether I want to or not, because the world is moving to social media. If I had as many followers as Kim Kardashian, I probably wouldn't even have to do this TV show. Also, one last thing, everybody. After you improve your weaknesses, protect your vulnerabilities. Stop telling people what's wrong with you, because some people will take that information and use it to their advantage. Don't tell them.
That's awesome. For more from Steve Harvey, simply search YouTube. And be sure to go to his website, steveharvey.com. The book Steve mentioned, Act Like a Success, Think Like a Success, is available at Steve's website and or Amazon.com. And for your convenience, I'll leave a link in the show notes. And remember, as the late great Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Today I've been hanging out with Steve Harvey. Keep up the momentum. Subscribe to our newsletter so you never miss another episode. We'll catch you on the next show. And thanks a million for listening. See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Expect Success Podcast with your host, George Bollick. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please rate, subscribe, and review. And find more great content online at georgebollick.com and on Facebook and Twitter at George Bollick. We'll catch you next time. And remember, don't just expect success, prepare for it.